So, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you are listening. This is Rebecca Lee from Maybe It's Mercury, teaching people how to detox from heavy metals without getting hurt. And most of the interviews I've done until now are with people who have been chelating for a long time and have gotten better. But my interviewee today is Ryan Lord, who is just starting out. So we are curious, how did he find us, and how did he figure out that it was metals that was his problem? Why does he think that? So Ryan lives in London and is an entrepreneur and content creator. He does Vox Populi interviews to promote brands of various products. This means he goes out into the street and talks with random people and makes videos. And isn't that an interesting profession? So, Ryan, what happened to you that makes you think you have mercury toxicity? And furthermore, how did you find the Andy Cutler protocol? So,
That's a that's a really great question. So I guess we could start by saying I experienced a health complication probably about a year and a half ago, known as chronic pelvic pain syndrome. The abbreviation for that is CPPS, but basically it was once I started to kind of become symptomatic in that I started to just research like, what is it that's causing these problems? So I basically, to cut a long story short, I whittled it down to it being either a neurological problem or a muscular problem or something else called uroplasma. But I really think it wasn't so much uroplasma. I never actually got tested for it, but I said, let me focus on what I can control first, which was the muscular problem and the neurological problems, because sometimes I would get like pins and needles like in my feet and stuff like that, and like sharp shooting pains in my leg, and I'm like, this isn't normal. So I done a few private tests to basically rule out if there was any bacteria that was causing it, because you basically get problems in like the prostate region, and I had problems sitting down. I couldn't sit down for any more than 10 minutes without being in pain. Sometimes even standing up would cause me pain. I would just be in constant pain every day. And then I basically whittled it down to to those three options. And I started to do a lot of pelvic floor stretches. So I bought a yoga mat. I done a lot of pelvic floor stretches, and I felt a lot of relief doing that. And another thing was Epsom salt baths. And as we all know, Epsom salt baths have a lot of magnesium in it. And funny enough, that also helps a lot with the muscles. But then I'm like, it still doesn't quite explain the shooting pains in my feet and in my legs. So I did take some vitamin B12 from like a local chemist that I picked up, and that actually helped a lot. But I'm still like, I still feel like there's some deficiencies there, like, that's causing it. But anyway, fast forward, I basically managed to completely, heal myself from CPPS symptoms, and I was like 100% symptomatic up until this point, really, up until this point. But something just told me to look into my amalgams. I don't know what it was, but I think it's like a calling from the Most High, the universe, God, whatever people want to call it. But that energy, right? That source is what kind of led me to this point. And then I just started to learn a lot more just about oral hygiene. I started to learn about the effects of having root canals. Thank God I haven't had any, but just like the effects of dentistry, and also like cavitations and stuff like that. But yeah, basically, on this journey so far, I bought an electric toothbrush. I brought a water floss. I've got a tongue scraper. I'm just looking after my oral health a lot more. I'm avoiding sugar as much as I can. But I'm like, so much of the symptoms that I was going through kind of is similar to the symptoms that mercury can cause, especially the neurological issues, right? Like with the nerves and with the feet and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a little bit of my story.
So that's what sort of tipped you off that it might be chronic mercury poisoning. Of course, I was thinking
Possibly.
you
Go
live
ahead.
you live in a place where a toxic manufacturing originated, in Great Britain, so there's a lot of metals kicking around left over from all that before there was really industrial hygiene, if there even is today. But anyway, how did you find the Andy Cutler protocol, and what made you think that this this made sense? How did you come to us?
Yeah, so I'm a huge advocate of taking health into your own hands. I'm like a huge reader anyway, so like I read a lot of books. I like to study um business, entrepreneurship, but I also like to study health as well. I think it's very important. So I basically was just looking at different books on amalgam poisoning, I guess. And then I came across the Andy Cutler protocol, and I purchased three of the books that you guys have within the Facebook group. So that's the hair test one, that's the amalgam illness one, and then that's the detoxing amalgam manual. So I purchased all three of those, and I also purchased two other books. One by I can't remember the author's name now. I think it's Tom McGuire's, but it's called The Poison in Your Teeth, and then the other one is called It's All in Your Head, and it's about mercury poisoning. So I was just doing as much research as I can.
Yeah. So, now you've joined the Facebook group and everything. What do you think? How are you proceeding? You still have your teeth to do, right?
Yes, I do. So, for those that are not aware, I've had the silver fillings put in since the age of 18. I just turned 28 last weekend. So I've had them in there for 10 years now. I have seven fillings to be exact, and I have a missing tooth. I believe if I went to another dentist, possibly I would have been able to, still have that tooth today. But it is what it is. And more importantly, I probably wouldn't have these amalgam fillings too. But basically, I was told that they're just silver fillings, right? I asked them, what's the difference between these fillings and other fillings? They said there's no difference, they're just silver. Now, that's medical negligence, right? Like they completely left out the fact that it has all of this different metal in it, and especially mercury. So I was quite disappointed in that, like learning, what I know now. But it is what it is. I just had to find a holistic dentist that I've now found that uses a smart protocol to get the amalgams removed. But the Facebook group has been really good because like any questions that I have, I could just, type it in the search bar within the group. And then I could be like, oh, hey, somebody else is talking about this topic. I can look at the comment section. I could see other people's experiences. I can add that to my research now. And also just like some success stories, like the people that have actually managed to feel a lot better following the protocol, as well as people, that are suffering, either equally to how I was or suffering more than I am now. So, it's always good to be around like-minded individuals that understand that this is a problem, especially as the group has almost like 90,000 members in it. It's like, okay, I know I'm not the only one, right? And when I was going through the CPPS stuff as well, I used to look for a lot of forums. So I spent a lot of time on Reddit. I spent a lot of time on YouTube, just looking at other people's stories, experiences. I spent a lot of time on Facebook, different social media platforms, just finding other people that are like me. And I have also done two other podcasts, funny enough, about chronic pelvic pain syndrome. And then I had people reaching out to me like, hey, I listened to your story. I want help from you because, as somebody that's managed to kind of take their health into their own hands and has managed to, completely heal themselves, I would like to kind of hear from you. So I'm not like a medical practitioner or whatever. So I always tell them that first of all I can do is share my story and whatever helped me. But I still do, advocate people to, consult with a professional. But for me, what helped me kind of get over it was fasting. So I done a 28-day water fast, watermelon fast for 28 days. That seemed to do a lot to my body, like positively. And then I done a 28-day grape fast on a separate occasion, black grapes only. There's a good book called The Great Manifesto on just how great grapes are, great fasts are at like healing a lot of different issues that apparently can't be healed. But yeah, again, I'm not a professional, so people still consult with a professional person that works in healthcare. But all I could do is just tell people my story and what helped me.
But do you think that the fasting, because we tell people usually we kind of tell people not to fast because it's too rough on them, but a lot of people are a whole lot sicker than you are, so it's
Yeah,
hard for them. Do you think that modulated your, because nowadays we're starting to understand that I mean, mercury affects all kinds of systems in the body, but one thing it
yeah,
really affects is the gut microbiome.
yes,
And that's because of the immune system being impaired, because there's aspects of the immune system that control how, dysbiosis. And mercury poisons the immune system, so it's easy to get your gut out of whack. And that causes just so many different symptoms. Do you think that that those fasts you did were affecting that directly? I mean,
yes. So what I noticed is that my stomach did feel a lot better like during the fast. Also, like my skin was like super, super clear. Like, I mean, my skin was already quite clear in general. This, obviously got a little spot here, but apart from that, my skin is quite clear. But the fast completely helped me to clear up the eczema that I had on my neck as well. So it completely cleared that up. And it gave me like a sense of uh euphoria kind of, like I was a lot more aware of my surroundings. Like I had a lot of mental clarity. I found it a lot easier to kind of go to sleep because sometimes it is quite hard to sleep, especially with people that are, mercury toxic.
yes.
But yeah, it completely helped my sleep. Uh, it completely got rid of the brain fog. And it gave me like more motivation and more drive back. So that's the effects that I found. And I also lost a lot of weight in the process too, which is a positive. So yeah, I'm now a different trouser size than what I was before I started the fast, and I managed to keep a lot of the weight off too.
Um, I think that we've decided that the most profound thing you can do to control symptoms is your diet. And it sounds like you were kind of a junk food eater until you got sick. So maybe the blessing of getting sick was to teach you how to eat properly. Do you think that's true?
Absolutely, yes. So 100%. Like I guess we could start by talking about my upbringing. So obviously as a child, like my mother wasn't really too hip to the effects of, eating the wrong food and sugar and stuff like that. But from a young age, growing up in a low economic background, like a lot of the foods that we would have is like all of the wrong things. I would have a lot of like Coca-Cola, a lot of Pepsi, a lot of, candy, a lot of pizza, McDonald's, like just all of the wrong foods basically, like from a young age. And then obviously I went to school with a lot of people that come from similar low economic backgrounds, and a lot of the time after school we would have all of the wrong things, we'll go and we'll have fast food, either the McDonald's or the Kentucky Fried Chicken or whatever, like every day almost. And then on top of that, we would have a lot of sweets as well, so a lot of candy and a lot of carbonated drinks, like a lot of, things like Coke and just a whole bunch of other carbonated drinks. And we'll do this almost every day, like every day because it was cheap. It was within reach. Like, after school, you'd go there. It's a place to socialize with each other. And
And tasty.
yeah,
Oh, you lived it.
right. Well, yeah, no, yeah, well, no, exactly. At the time you think it's tasty until you actually get a taste of other foods as you get older. But for me, yeah, that had like a massive effect as well
Yeah, on your teeth.
on
Yeah.
my teeth, especially.
Yeah. So maybe there's some questions you'd like to ask me as someone starting out.
Yeah,
Ask me.
I guess I guess the question I could ask you is like, what actually led you to, think about Mercury and whatever you was going through, and what was it that you was going through too?
I can hardly remember. It seems like it was so, I mean, I think I've been chasing after symptoms my entire life, ever since I was a child. I mean, one thing that Mercury people experience a lot is this sense of being an outsider. Like you're always sort of, I mean, did you have that feeling? when you were a kid in school? Or were you a
Um,
member of the gang and everybody loved
yeah, like I was like, like I was quite like a popular
you? Were very
person. Like I've always, yeah, I've always been somewhat popular.
but
I've been extra
you only
like,
got the big exposure when you're 18. I probably got mine when I was 8 years old.
oh,
Even
that's
before.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a
no, that's ins
huge believer in dentists. She just thought dentists were, like dentists and
uh,
doctors. Yeah. And then we traveled a lot. So my father was a foreign service officer, a diplomat. So we moved from country to country and we had a lot of those products. Whoops. Wow.
wow, that was so cool. Let me try that. There you go. Oh, okay, it didn't work for me. But yeah, I guess, yeah, no, like for me, I've never really struggled too much like with any health issues. Like thankfully, like when I was younger, I had asthma, but that's because like my father was like a heavy smoker. So obviously you smoke sometimes in the house and stuff like that. So that's probably like what led to me having asthma
That's a mercury thing, asthma.
as well, really.
Yep.
Okay.
hmm
But
Mentioned
thankfully,
amalgam illness. I don't know if it's on the front page here, but yeah.
yeah, thankfully,
Allergies,
thankfully
allergies, asthma for the first two things on the front page of amalgam illness. Allergies and asthma.
And asthma, wow. Yeah, no, thankfully for me, I had my asthma like way before I even had amalgams in my mouth. And then my asthma kind of cleared up by itself. But when I was younger, I did have asthma. And then when I got older, the only health problems I've really had is like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and CPPS stuff. But yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering what that liver disease came from. I mean, for a young person like you, that's pretty unusual. It's from the bad food you ate, or it might
100%.
be just the toxicity doing its thing because it does all kinds
Probably
of things.
Yeah, no, probably like a bit of both, like from all of because it's kind of in a word, like fatty liver disease, if you're eating all of the wrong stuff, you're getting a lot of, all of the like, a lot of the wrong fats into your body. So yeah, it's
Good
definitely due to my
fats.
diet, I think. Go ahead.
Start eating good fats, really good fats like butter and ghee and coconut oil and
Avocado.
avocados. Yeah, but butter is good for you. I certainly love mine.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, no, like a lot of the time, like, like we're told to avoid butter and we're told to avoid
well,
what's the other
yeah,
one, red meat. But now, there's studies saying that red meat is good for you, and having butter as well is good for you. And even coffee, for example, can help a lot of things, especially with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I'm not too sure about mercury toxic people, but usually even coffee can help the liver from what I've read anyway.
yeah, that was a new discovery, which I was happy to find out. Yeah, the thing with mercury people though is like about a third of us are sensitive to thiol foods.
Yeah.
Yeah, and coffee is one of those. So it's very tragic that you have to give up coffee, but I mean, you don't have to, but if you are sensitive to these kinds of foods, if you give them up, you'll feel a hell of a lot better. And that's why people do, because there's some people are suffering with so many symptoms that it's really makes a big difference for them to change their diet in this way. So they do that. And after you've chelated enough, you can start eating anything you want again, slowly anyway.
No, 100%. And I think, like for me, and I'm pretty sure that there's other people that can relate, hopefully. I've read like a study on basically, like when you're young and you're introduced to sugar, like you kind of become addicted to sugar for the rest of your life, like
Right.
as a child. And as I said, like as a child, like that's kind of all I was having, like that's all I was eating. So
You were brought up pretty much on. I've seen people. I had an employee once that's all they ate was sugar.
yeah, like all I had was sugar. Whereas like I'll go to some of my friends' houses and their parents were like so anti-sugar, right? And like they would say, oh, you gotta eat your fruits and your vegetables and whatever else. But because my taste was so acquired to sugar, I never used to like eating vegetables and all this other stuff. It's not until I got older. So
Yeah.
throughout my life, yeah, I've kind of been eating the wrong foods and everything like that. But I've just been lucky that God, the Most High, the universe, whatever, people want to call it, has protected me and has actually, kept me in good health, essentially, despite the mercury and everything else.
You must have pretty robust health to make it this far with a diet like that. So it's good that you're changing over, and because I mean, the thing about these toxicities is, like your body deals with it when you're young. You can handle all kinds of things and your body works around it. And it's not just physically, it's also psychologically. Your personality has to sort of shift around this toxicity that's tending to make you anxious and crazy and even and really depressed. And you have to and your psyche has to work around that. But as you get older, and your body is not as strong, it's just like it kind of gives up. And I think that's why you see so many old people getting dementia because they manage.
Hmm.
It's not even that they're getting more because it's a toxicity that builds up and accumulates, and people get sicker and sicker the more they're exposed. But it's also a factor of your body getting weaker and just saying the hell with this, I can't deal with this anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, like like funny enough, like my grandfather had a dementia as well, and
Yeah.
coincidentally, he happened to, work in the heavy metal industry. I think he used to work around a lot of steel and other stuff, but they never used to wear masks. Back then, obviously some people did, but
Later.
because they didn't have enough research on this stuff, a lot of them never used to wear masks. And funny enough, one of my friends, her grandfather that also had dementia happened to work in a very similar industry. So, putting two and two together is probably, the heavy metal toxicity that probably led to him having dementia to begin with,
Yeah,
because
I think that's what it is. And it's interesting, I think mercury tends to give people dementia and 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 lead to tends to make people violent criminals. Yeah, and I always wonder about some countries where there's a lot of crime, how much lead people are exposed to. Yeah. So
and
what do
that's
you
and
have?
go ahead.
What do you hope to accomplish for yourself by? I mean, you've joined a group of people like our face group. A group. Some people say it's the group that nobody wants to belong to, and you're not really very sick. Like some of these people in the group are just like some of them are, like at the point of they're ready to kill themselves. They've been sick for so long, and it's so devastating as psychologically and physically, but you look pretty good. What do you hope to accomplish from doing this protocol? Because it's a
Thank-
long thing to undertake, and it's not straightforward or simple. So,
For
what do you
me,
say?
no, for me, it's more so just about like being as optimal as I can be. So like without being like, super over the top and like super strict. Like I just kind of take like one stride at a time. Like what can I do now to make myself and to make my health that little bit better than it was yesterday?
Better,
You
yeah,
know? So, for me, that's what's so important. And it's also just to kind of educate other people on the dangers of amalgam poisoning as well. And just that amalgam just shouldn't be used, like, period, like in people's mouths at all.
yeah,
Um, and I guess, yeah, for me, like, it's like the older I become, like, the more I kind of want to take, control of my health and I want to correct a lot of things that, was wrong up until this point of time. Especially, coming from that, like poor background, like low economic background, it's just about changing the narrative, like for people around me, for my family to come now in the future. Um, and yeah, like just reversing what I can reverse, or just making my body as optimal as I can make it now whilst I'm still young, then doing
yeah.
it back to front. Like when I get to like, like an older age, like now trying to take care of my health, and it's like I should have been taking care of my health from the start. So that's what it is for me.
I wish we could reach more people like you because in a way you're looking at this as a quote. This was an expression that Andy just hated when I used it. He freaked out. A wellness practice. It's
Right.
almost a wellness practice for someone like you, and you'd like, yeah, and you'd like to head off getting
Yeah,
dementia. grandfather when you hit 70 years old, Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for like for me, that's what it's about because I saw the effect that it had on him. I saw the effect that it had on the family, and any way that I can kind of prevent that, then I will. But even like I mean, my grandma had like some kidney problems, I believe, and a lot of people in my family have been diabetic before because of like diet again.
Well,
So
diabetes is another one. It's
it's
on.
very big, like it's very big in like the Caribbean community. Like I'm half English and half Caribbean, so obviously in the Caribbean community, in the UK anyway, like diabetes is, quite a big thing. So a lot of my family has had diabetes. Thankfully, they've managed to reverse it through natural ways of eating and changing their diet. But I do know there's loads of people that are, stuck on pills for the rest of their life, like because of such things. But for me, any way that I can kind of heal myself naturally, I will. And what kind of helped me to get through my journey with CPPS, and this can help other people as well that are struggling with different things, is journaling. Like there was a great book that I read called, well, not even that I read, but there's a great journal that I picked up called The Greatest Self-Help Book is Written by You. And basically every day you can write a page in that journal. It asks you questions about how are you feeling today? Like what are you thankful for? Stuff like that. And then also like a summary of the day. You can write down a summary. And that really helped me because it allowed me to put my thoughts down on paper. And it allowed me just to log my thoughts. How was I feeling last week and how am I feeling this week? And rather than like having somebody else to talk to about this, especially somebody else that doesn't understand, I could just keep everything within that book. And it's like that book understands me. And then I can go back and I can, yeah, like just see the process and everything else. So I would say that would really, really help people. Just journaling and a good book to start with is The Greatest Self-Help Book is Written by You.
I always tell people to keep a journal, a health journal when they're chelating because it's amazing how quickly you forget what was wrong with you. And as people lose, symptoms, they just completely forget that they ever had them, and they start obsessing about what they've still got left.
Yeah, and it's also the mind, like I'm a very, very strong believer in mind over matter. I've read a great book as well called The Secret by Rhonda Bryan, I think it is, or Rhonda Byrne, I think it is. But it's a great book, and I definitely recommend people read that as well. But it's all about the mind, and like if you think positive things, you attract positive things. If you think negative things, you attract negative things. So a lot of people have actually you know, you know, healed themselves just using their mind. And it might sound weird, but I feel like a lot of what I was going through was also a lot of mind over matter too. So alongside the fasting and everything else, just having that positive mind and telling myself every day, I'm gonna get better and I'm healthier today than I was yesterday, that helped me push through.
Well, I think it's going to be really interesting to follow you while you do this. Going to be fascinated, and I think it's great, and you're going to be able to really contribute and help your community with
Thank
with
you.
with your journey. So, is there anything? Do you have a website or something that people can go to that you'd like
Yes.
to announce here?
For
Tell me.
sure, yes. So like you guys can follow me on social media at Ryan Lord Official. So that's RyanLord Official. Um, my website is like business related, so like it's not really related to this. But if you guys follow me on social media, you can reach out to me at any time. I've got a YouTube channel as well. It's like more podcast stuff on there right now with entrepreneurs, but I do eventually want to like, like put more of myself on that channel as well. So you guys could, subscribe to that. But yeah, I'm on all social media under Ryan Lord Official.
Ryan Lord Official. All right then. Thank you very much, Ryan. I'm going to